ever worked for.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
Whitney is yogini, a movement specialist, an incredibly kind soul, also very creative soul, I have to say. And as long as I've known you, you've always been developing yourself. You've always been very hardworking personality and very giving, but at the same time, I always saw you as a person who knew how to balance, how to scale it down and bring it back to self and find that inner calm in the midst of hurricane.
Yeah. Well,
How
thank you. I don't, I'm glad that's your perception. Sometimes I'm not always sure that that is the truth that I'm feeling, but I think it's the practice. Part of it, I think sometimes, and here goes a little woo-hooey, but I'm a Taurus, and I'm very much an Earth person, and I can be very driven, and I like to go and do, but I also realize that there are times when I just have to shut the world off so that I can like replenish and rejuvenate. And so it's over the years figuring out when to see those signals about, oh, you've gone too far, and to find ways that I can sort of shorten that stretched out period. Because I used to be someone who could go for miles and then I'd be like super depleted and literally like sleep for a day. But adding practices like yoga and definitely I have a strong meditation practice have definitely helped, I would say.
And as we are diving into our aliveness discussion, since it's just kind of like new moon, it is a new moon, I think, 22nd.
Yeah, today, yeah.
I invite you to plant a seed of whatever it is that you are growing this month and going into June. One word, 2 words, just like, and also everybody who's watching us, comment what are you planting today that will grow within this rest of this month and also going into the period of full moon that is, I think, going to be 7th of June.
Yeah.
Go on.
The first word that comes to mind is kindness.
Mm-hmm.
I've been finding in my teaching that reminding everybody about, and myself, like about kindness and not just the kindness to each other, which is very important, but also being kind to myself and that reminder that we're in this incredible new learning dynamic space, where everything is new. Every time you get on a Zoom call or a Facebook Live, there's something new. There's something, that's tweaked or fine-tuned. So kindness is definitely a big buzzword for me. I also think for this month, what's the word? I don't know if I would say, it's a phrase. I'd say less is more.
Mm-hmm.
So really wanting not to do so much, but to be more, like be more present, find the joy of moving slowly, eating slowly, reading books. So maybe the word is slow, because even though as we move into spring, it's, in summer it becomes fast. But I think I'm wanting to embrace slow. That would be the other word, slow.
Slow. Planting slow.
Yeah.
I like it.
Planting slow. And
that's how you plan, right? You can't really plant fast because you can't pull the seeds. You gotta allow them to sprout on their own.
Yeah.
I like that very much.
Absolutely.
I like that very much. So definitely everyone who's watching us, let us know what you are planting. I am so very much on the same wavelength with you with kindness. I think kindness is definitely something that we need to be planting, and it's also this internal sense of kindness. How Buddha says, before you go and be compassionate to others, you have to be compassionate to yourself. And I think we all had this time of maybe external slowness and things slowed down for us externally, a lot of us probably still pretty fast in our minds, in our heads. And as we're starting to slow down, we might face that challenge of, oh, there's those things that I have to be compassionate for towards myself. And so every day there is something else that I'm like, oh, I need to have a little bit more compassion for myself, a little bit more kindness for myself.
When this first we were asked to, house inside and to quarantine. I remember watching a dear friend of mine, Elizabeth Lesser, who is the co-founder of the Omega Institute, and she was one of the first people that I knew of that was, online doing a talk about, okay, what do we do now? And this was like early March, mid-March, like this was just going into the phase.
Right.
And she reminded me of a mudra, and I can't remember the name of this mudra, where you take I either see it as the Buddha mudra or the Kuan Yin mudra, where you take, and I'll do opposite mirrored, but it's your right hand is out and your left hand is in sort of in reception mode, right? So in many energy traditions, right is giving and left is receiving. And if you push that hand way out, it's, like stop. But when it's closer to you, it's about that reminder of strength and, I've got your back. And then the cup is either asking for if you need assistance, or it's also that unending reception. And that mudra has been like my go-to when I start to sense that I'm triggered or something. It's just like, okay, right hand up, left hand. And I just sit there. And there's something as simple as that is, that has been my like go-to over these last couple of months now of being sort of inside all the time.
Is that part of your seated practice, that you would actually do the mudra, or it's like you're suddenly like walking in New York and you're like, hold on, everyone, I got it. Oh, like,
it's a little of both. I mean, sometimes when most people are very gracious and respectful of the 6 feet, and so you're standing in line to get to the grocery store. And I live in West Harlem, but sometimes I'll venture into other neighborhoods. And sometimes when I'm waiting in line, because all you can do is wait, and I'm tired of looking through my phone, and I'll just sort of I may not be so obvious about it when I'm standing in public, but, I'll just hold a hand up, or I'll hold my palm up, and that's what I think about. And then I do also add it, into my meditation or into some of my teaching. But yeah.
Another type of silver lining of this 6 feet, like I can literally stand right now in the line and like rock out a move and just like groove, right? I'm not gonna so,
today I had to go to the post office, and as I'm leaving the post office, there's 3 postal workers that have those big carts that they're taking to apartment buildings here in New York, and one of them had music on their phone. And I was ahead of them, and they were all, self-distanced, and I started jamming, and then we all started jamming, and I said, can I take a picture? They're like, no, because we'll get in trouble. But it was so fun to see, we were all just walking down the street 6 feet apart, dancing, they've got their mail bags. So you find the joy in the little things.
That is a part of reinventing, and this is a part of new normal, whatever that's supposed to be, just creating this environment of enjoying life, because I think it really, really reminds us how precious those moments of being outside and seeing other humans and connecting on whatever level, right? Like just through some dance with a stranger, or listening to music.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how simple life has gotten.
Yes.
And I mean, there's different complications, obviously, by your new normal, but there's a simplicity of, wow, I have my cats, they love me, I have a roof over my head, I have food, I have toilet paper, like I have friends. And well, I was talking to someone yesterday about, and I'd say this to you too, I can't wait to give you a hug. I just want to give you a hug. But I've just found this peace of, I'm okay. It's not how I wish to walk in the world in some ways, but in other ways, I am just like, So, yeah. And how's life for you in Puerto Rico
Life is
or
wonderful.
wherever you
Life
are?
is
Yeah.
wonderful. I keep on kind of, thinking how we got here personally and collectively in terms of where we are right now, and that life brought us to the places in our inner worlds and our external worlds to the point that we have to, sit for a while with ourselves and face our own truths. And a lot of this type of journeys for me are coming from, movement and, let's call it, fitness industry. I think it's drastically going to change soon. um, how did this movement journey started for you? Like, what was
Oh, wow.
the steps?
It started as a kid. I wasn't a sports kid, but I loved to dance.
Hmm.
And and then when I was in high school, now I'm really dating myself, was when aerobics was almost coming out. And so by the time I got to college was the first aerobics, and I was in the second, I think maybe the second generation at that time of ACE certified instructors. I wasn't in the first class, but I was in that first year or two. And I started teaching because um, it was fun. And I figured out, well, I could get paid to do this,
Correct.
So it's like I used to go and take aerobics classes, and someone I knew who did not have a movement background, a new gym had opened in our college town, and she got hired to teach, and she didn't have rhythm and didn't have the beat. And I was like, well, I understand music and I understand movement, and if she can do it, I can do it. So I started teaching, and then, and I've told him this, but Dr. Len Kravitz, before he was a doctor, he was still in school, and he was one of the first national presenters. And he came to Columbia, Missouri, where I was in school, and he did, he used to do high and low impact aerobics, and he did this workshop with, a couple hundred people, and I was just his energy and his wisdom, and he was so much fun, and I went, I want to do that. And now, 30 some years later, I am, getting that opportunity a lot thanks to SCW and Lawrence Biscontini to get to present a bit. And I just always loved to move. And it evolved from high and low impact aerobics. I take dance classes. I came to New York and discovered I'm not a professional Broadway dancer, but I love to dance. Um, and then fell in love with yoga. Um, I
Was
had been
your
exposed to it.
discovery, was it more like a physical experience for you first, or was it really something that you approached as more of a,
I got introduced to yoga throughout my life, but the physical practice, mostly asana and the sun salutation, but I didn't know that's what it was. And I moved to Michigan and I signed up for a yoga class. And this woman was working towards her Iyengar certification. And we used to take class on a Friday night in the basement of a church. And I took my first class and my body just went, I know this. There was something that was so familiar to me. And every time she'd introduce a new posture, my body would go, oh, yeah. And I don't know where I knew this from, if it was past lives, if it was just my imagination. But every time I did it, there was just this aha. And even though I got introduced on one level physically, to me, there's always been an integrated experience, especially with yoga. But I found it in dance. I found it in not always in weightlifting, but you could, when I was doing sculpting classes.
yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, well, I
So,
think body is our best recording system. It records things in DNA that we not always remember in this lifetime, but it's recorded there. So,
yeah.
that wisdom of yoga is thousands and thousands of years. So it is definitely somewhere within us because we come from those regions. Yes. And then specifically you teach quite a few yin yoga practices.
Yeah.
How does that, like, what, because for my younger it's a little bit and similar but different sort of
Right. Right.
field
So
body.
I got introduced. through Iyengar, and then my certifications are through interdisciplinary yoga with Ramanand Don and Amba Stapleton, and it's a blended vinyasa-based practice that takes principles from Iyengar and Ashtanga and Kripalu
Mhm.
and somatic work. And through them, one of their senior teachers, Biff Mithofer, introduced me to Yin, and that's my new favorite. Like, I love all the aspects of yoga, and I love that there's just a feast, different styles, different traditions, but there's something, it's just like always coming to a feast, no matter what class or style I get to practice in. But what I love about yin is that it goes back to that quiet and that slowness. And, sometimes in the slowness, when you're in a posture and you can sense and feel, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get out of this pose? And you sense or watch what's going on in your brain. And then when the time comes that you come out of the pose, there's both the relief of being out of the pose, and then there's also oh, what you let go of. It's like the baggage that you got to take down and leave at the door. So the whole practice just continues to amaze me.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think I love that there's sort of I always tell people when they come to yoga or they're going to take a class that it's sort of like apples. And sometimes you want a red apple, sometimes you want a green apple, sometimes you want caramel on top of it, sometimes you want it baked, sometimes you don't want an apple. But that there's just, there's these different avenues, and different types of practices have shown up in my life at different times. Like many, many years ago, left a very difficult relationship that was someone that I loved, and it was just, we needed to go different ways, and it was heartbreaking. And that's when I studied Ashtanga. And
Mhm.
I was drawn to Ashtanga, not knowing at the time, but I was learning that I was strong.
You were like burning all of that, suffering.
But it was learning that I had a strength that I didn't know I had at the time, and then something else came into my life, and I learned, alignment, and to own that space. And then it was flow, and just being able to dance through all of those.
Mhm.
I think that's been helpful in the resilience that we need now.
Are you finding any other development in terms of your practice? Are you like looking into some other lineage, or it's you're very much in
No, I think because my lineage was interdisciplinary, so there's always this invitation to
yeah,
explore.
yes.
Um, and my teacher, Amba Stapleton, just recently did a video that she posted on YouTube, and it was like, wow, to be back in class again with your teacher was amazing. Um, and you just remember, you find new things. So, yeah. My cat is sneezing at the moment. My apologies if you're hearing
I
her.
love it. No, I don't hear. I don't hear. We want to see a cat.
Well, she's not in her best at the moment. Let me see if she'll let me pick her up. I have two, actually. Can you come here? Can you come here? So this is Molly. Can you
She
say
is the
hi?
most adorable. Black and white.
She's a tuxedo, and then my other girl is Tabitha, and she's all black. And she's a little more camera shy. I don't know where she is at the moment. Good girl. Say hi to everybody. Okay, here
Yeah.
you go.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for stopping by saying hi. So, Whitney, what's your practice now? Like, what do you do on a daily basis that keeps your aliveness?
My life is.
Thriving?
I start my morning daily with meditation. I do a transcendental. I was trained or gifted in transcendental meditation, so I do that first thing in the morning,
Mhm.
and then I have some Chinese herbs that I take every day. So I have this. I have a morning cup and I have an afternoon cup, and so that's kind of become a ritual. Like, I do my meditation, I get the tea ready, I take a shower, and there's something about just that alone is really grounding. And then I'm usually on Zoom, teaching classes, working, figuring out what's next, learning how to do something. And then by the end of the night, it's usually another, and I don't always do a TM meditation at night, but I'll do some kind of a meditation. I just got introduced, I've known about it, but I just took a workshop on Zentangle. Do you know what that is? Have you heard of this?
I keep hearing about it. I keep hearing
Okay, it is.
it.
I am not. It was the coolest thing ever. But you learn how to draw, and I'll show you everybody. Here's my little drawing, um, and it was about an hour long practice, and they teach you how to kind of doodle in a way,
Right.
and it was so um, relaxing. So I went and bought fine-tuned pens and I dug up my markers and crayons, and so I think I want to add some form of like coloring at the end of the day, getting out coloring books, and so that's sort of my practice. And then when I can get outside, definitely a walk. And at 7 o'clock here in New York, I am vigilant about, I have Tibetan bells, and that's the loudest thing I have. So I lean out my window here and I bang my Tibetan bells really loud, and I can
Which
hear people
is
from
an
the front of the
experience,
building.
isn't it? It's a whole
Yeah,
experience of connecting to your neighborhood and
it
neighbors, and
it is so magical. Because you'll forget, like you'll get caught up in your day and what you're doing and whatever. And then 7 o'clock comes, and if I don't remember it, I hear somebody from, like, I'm in the back of the building, so somebody from the front of the building, I'll hear drums and maracas. I'm in West Harlem, so we get horns. I've got a trombone player who lives 2 floors down. I've seen his trombone come out. And there's just this like, and whatever has happened during my day between my tea and 7 o'clock, that 7 o'clock thing is just this reset. And it's this reminder that it's all right with the world. We have had a day. Um, I have a friend from Brazil many, many years ago. I met him when I was in grad school. And he used to say to me, every day above ground is a good one. And, and it is never been more true. When that 7 o'clock chime blanging comes, it's just like, I've had a day. And whatever tasks or things I think I have to have on that to-do list, that has been really helpful to say, okay, you can stop now. You've been the human doing. And so it's enabling me to have more of a human being in the evening. I'd like to be more of a human being more in the day, but we're working on it.
yes, yeah, more of human being to come
Yeah,
forth.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tell us where, in terms of speaking of human doing, where can we see you doing?
What can you see me doing?
Are you teaching on Zoom? Is it
I
okay?
am teaching a handful of classes on Zoom right now. If people reach out to me via Facebook, I'm happy to send you to my link. I
Please,
am not
in
to
the
my Zoom. I'll give you my Zoom information. I am one of those people who's been really slow to be online in some ways, so I don't have a website yet, but I'm working on it. So hang tight. I teach a program for a class on Monday evenings for women living with cancer through the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan. So if you go to jccmanhattan.org
where we
forward
had the pleasure
slash,
to meet first time. So
yeah,
big,
yeah,
big
that's where we met.
our favorite place.
And then you do forward slash cancer dash care. The classes are completely free to anyone who is living with breast or ovarian cancer. And then right after we finish, I teach a class for individuals living with Parkinson's, also through the JCC Manhattan. So that's probably the easiest. I am on staff with Equinox, but we're not doing live classes at the moment. But fingers crossed soon. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Would you mind afterwards share the links to all of that what you mentioned in the comment line so people can actually go and find you,
Sure,
and also your Facebook.
sure.
You're on Facebook. You're pretty.
Yeah, easiest is my Facebook page, and you can private message me there. And then I'll send you the Zoom links and how to register and all of that.
Also,
So,
a part of your aliveness practice, I'm sure that is doodling was great, but something that you've been doing for a while and very successful at is singing. Tell me how this, I mean, a part of actual performing, how does that contribute to your beingness?
wow, you really just touched my heart. Thank you for that question. I just love singing. I always have, and I imagine that I'm this great Broadway singer or this great opera singer. And I have done a handful of cabaret shows and was getting ready to start working on another one, which I am going to work on. We just don't know how the world will evolve.
Mhm.
Um, and just this week, a friend of mine who runs a cabaret space in London, I joined him and did my very first sort of live cabaret where we pre-recorded a song
Which
and
is
then had a
posted,
chat
I
afterwards,
believe.
which I just posted on Facebook. So if you scan down, you can see the whole thing. And then this weekend, I'm gonna post just my piece of it. But the singers I got to perform with were amazing. That were in the evening. Tova Feldsha, of course, everybody else's name just walked out of my brain, but it was super fun. And whether you sing professionally or sing in your shower, I mean, we know from sound, you know this, Yuri, that sound is a vibration and it's very healing. And whether you put on your favorite song on your playlist, or back in the day it was your record, and that repeat, you play it over and over. Why do you play it over and over? Because there's something in that music or in the language that's associated with that music that's vibrating through you and it's resonating with you, whether it's a song that makes you really happy or a song that's expressing your anger or your frustration or your joy or your bliss or your love. And there's just something about it. And like even today, getting to dance down the street with the mailman, like um, it's something that just somehow easily brings out joy. Um,
Singing
so
more. Yes, singing more. Always.
yeah,
Always,
so
always. Do you have a bunch of, do you have your favorites? Like, do you have like a list that you go to? Or it's pretty much whatever comes around?
um, it kind of is whatever comes around, and it
Mhm.
depends on the mood. Like
Right.
I would say during this isolation, there's been a lot of like Diana Krall and Olita Adams. I don't know if people know her. She's originally from Kansas City. So kind of these like gut wrenching
Soulful.
heart,
Yeah.
I love you, those kind of songs.
Yeah, there's a lot of power. Like there's just power there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then, other days it's, feeling groovy or, some Burt Bacharach song from the 70s, I think I love you from the Partridge Family, just, I probably goes with the mood, but if it's a song, I'm open to singing it.
Yeah. And Whitney, where anything in the nearest future that you're looking forward to? Any events that you are involved
Oh,
in?
I thank you for asking. I am involved in SCW's first online mania, which is this coming week, not this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, but next weekend. And I'm super excited. I'm going to be teaching a gentle yoga class at 3:30 or 3:40 Eastern time on Saturday, and it's 2:40 Central time. And I'm working with the JCC. We're putting together a virtual spa day for people, I should say, living with breast and ovarian cancer that will be happening at the end of June. Working on that both from a producing standpoint, helping them produce it and possibly teaching, and looking to expand my online teaching a bit. Hoping to do a workshop next month on mantras, mudras, and meditation.
Which is
So,
phenomenal.
um,
Absolutely
yeah,
great. I've been to one of
yeah,
those during conventions. That is very good.
yeah.
Yes, everything that you do is
So,
incredibly
oh, takes
heartfelt and full of wisdom. So So definitely keep us posted. And
And then when are we going to do something together?
we are, first of all, going to be together on.
I'm just putting it out there to
We
the world.
are going to be virtually together at the SW Virtual Mania. And who knows, right? It's like I'm looking forward to being together, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't look like there is. I don't know. I don't know. I believe that things are going to play out well for all of us soon, and it's going to be easier to travel and see each other.
I
Let
hope
me
so.
look at our comments because we got a bunch of them going on there just to see if we got any questions. People, D from Canada says that she loves Dr. Len Kravitz. So yes, yes, yes. Joanna is there. Okay, Joanna is talking about jazzercise. I pretend I don't know what that is. So I take jazzercise. Ian, Jenny, yeah, we got plenty of beautiful, lovely comments. And
Thank you, everyone.
please do make sure to post your events there in the line because I would love people to know more about you because you're such a
Thank you.
beautiful person to follow. With this, my friend,
Thanks.
on a final note, I know we already were seeding plans and seeds for this month, and if within this next 20 seconds to finish up, bring this connection of ours to a closure, how do you see world? How do you see planet? Um, yeah, what do you see it with?
I I think Mother Earth is really asking us to pay attention to what's important, um, because she's going to be here whether we are or not. And I think it's this beautiful invitation to come into ourselves and into our quiet, to really learn and respect and value what is important. And I think as we do this, not only as individuals, but then as communities and a world, we are one world now. We have created one world. We have a world wide web. Thank God for that World Wide Web. Otherwise, going through this without being able to communicate with everyone would be really more difficult. So we have to, in my opinion, look at the greater good. You know, we're only going to be as strong as our weakest link. So how do we help keep that strength in the chain, so that it's both flexible and strong? And I think it starts with love and kindness and people like you hosting these amazing chats. I mean, I've gotten to watch some of the ones you've done over the last several weeks, and I just am like in awe of the other wisdom that's come from your other guests. So
Well,
all you need is
it's
love.
all about inspiration that we share, right? Through
Yeah,
our breath
yeah,
into the earth. And I like that. I like that seed of kindness and remembering why we're here and are we contributing or we're not? So asking ourselves that really essential question. What are we contributing with? Yeah,
exactly.
that's very, very important. Thanks so much, Whitney. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon in actual
Yes,
real
yes, yes,
reality,
yes,
not virtual one.
yes.
And thank you so
Big
much.
hugs, big hugs. Thank you so much for this opportunity and
Thank
for
you. Thank
sharing
you to everyone
your
who's
sun
listening.
and trees and plants and just your life energy with us. Thank you. Thank you.